Yeah. I just need to use the bathroom.
Oh, the cabana right over across from the pool. They have the restroom in there.
Really?
Okay?
Can't I just go in here? It'll just take
Sorry,
2 seconds.
I can't.
Now...
Outside sandbox only. Straight over there. There's plenty of toilet paper.
Why can't I go? I'm not wet or anything. You know, it's. I'm not going to dirty the house. I'll wipe my feet.
You know what? I'd love to make a concession.
An exception?
An exception, but I can't because I'll get in trouble by Mr. Mellon. So,
You know what? I know Mr. Mellon. I wouldn't worry about it. Okay?
You know
friends.
Hugh?
Yeah, I know you, and it's no problem. Believe me.
Because I'll get in trouble.
You're not going to get in trouble. I'll take care of the whole thing. I really have to go. Please.
You know what? I don't want any trouble.
There's no trouble. Don't worry. Don't worry. It'll take 2 seconds. This is fine.
Okay,
this is fine. This is silly. Come on. This is silly.
You're just going to go number one, right?
Number one. I'll be done in 2 seconds.
Okay, hurry up. Just number one.
We are here today. It's season 3, episode 4, The Nanny from Hell. And Jeff is not with us. I'm Susie Essman. Jeff is not here today. He had a little thing he had to take care of. But we don't need him because we have the nanny herself. The nanny from hell herself. Cheri Oteri is here with us today.
Oh, everybody, it's so good to be here. How many people are here? 1, 2, 3, 4,
5. All of us. Big audience. And Cheri, well, look, let's talk first about how did you get the part? Did you audition?
No, actually, Larry called me at home. And the funny thing is I was so excited. I couldn't believe that he was calling me at home. It's like, Cheri, Larry David. I'm like, and he started to tell me about the character.
Right.
But I was so excited, I really wasn't listening.
Right.
You know what I mean? You think, I thought to myself, I'm going to, get it later when I get my script.
Right.
And I'll read it.
Little did you know.
And study it. And, but he was going on and I really.
And had you been, this was just the 3rd season. So had you been watching the first 2 seasons? You had, because the first 2 seasons were really under the radar for us. But people in the business were watching.
Right.
But the general public, I just noticed anecdotally, I wasn't really stopped in the street or anything till after this season, after season 3. But you had been watching it.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And, but I truly did not think it was all improvised. I thought you could improvise.
Right. Nobody believes us when we tell them that.
Well, I'll tell you, I went in and I kept waiting for paper. And I said to my agent at the time, I go, I still haven't gotten a script.
Yeah.
And I still haven't gotten, and then I'm just thinking, why haven't I gotten anything? And then I get in and I knew, if I knew anyone, it was Jeff.
Right.
But I could never get alone with Jeff. And you guys are all on automatic. You're not even thinking about what the guest is thinking about.
Right.
It was kind of like reminding me of like when guests come on SNL, once they're there and they realize that it truly is live, those who would never experience that are scared shitless.
Right. I just had a flash of my favorite year. And when Peter O'Toole is doing that and he doesn't know it's live and he just freaks out. Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Oh, it's a great movie. It's about a live show, and it was kind of based on your show of shows.
Oh, yeah.
Caesar.
I used to watch that.
Yeah. And Peter O'Toole comes on as like, what was his name? Alan Swan, I think, or something like that. And he's playing a Peter O'Toole character, like an Errol Flynn character. And he thinks he's doing the show. And then that night, he realizes it's live and he gets completely sloshed and just fucks everything up. So same thing with SNL.
It's terrifying.
People they know it's Saturday Night Live.
But they go, when do you tape on Saturday Night Live?
Right.
And so.
How many seasons did you do SNL? 5.
And but I went straight from the Groundlings to there.
Right.
So you go live to live, and I don't even pay attention to the cameras. And I used to get in trouble. He's like, Cheri, do you know where your camera is? And I go, yeah, no, you don't.
Yeah.
And he was right. I never paid attention to the cameras
because you were a literal live performer, live
and he's
stage
like, Cheri,
performer.
the people at home would like to see you too.
Yeah. I get like
find
that.
Your red
just
light.
Coming from stand-up all those years, I don't even think about where the camera is. I'm just not camera savvy like that. I'm used to live performing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, wow, I never even thought you have to play to your camera.
Right. We're not Marlene Dietrich, where we know where our key light is.
Right. I never knew about lighting.
Yeah.
I never even thought to say, wow, that's bad light. Even today, I still don't think about, but yet I know how important it is after the fact.
But you don't think about it when you're performing. Neither do I.
No. So when I got there, I Still no paper, no nothing. And
So you didn't see an outline.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And
I believe in those years, nobody saw outlines. No guests saw outlines in those years. So
Really?
nobody ever showed you an outline.
no, nothing. And I couldn't say to David, hey, listen, when you called me and you explained what I was going to be doing, I wasn't listening.
Right.
Because I was excited. You can't say that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and Jeff was running around. I couldn't say, Jeff, could you tell me what I'm doing?
Oh, so you were just lost.
I was so lost and so scared that the first scene that I did, and he's like, all right, you're going to try.
What was the first scene you did?
We were by the pool.
Oh, that one. Okay.
And he said, you're going to try and stop me from using the bathroom. And I go, do I succeed? Action! I go, and I said to him, do I succeed?
Yeah.
So I didn't know when to stop,
Yeah.
how long to keep going. And he's like, going to use the bathroom. And I just was like, oh, you can't use the bathroom, whatever. And then I didn't know how long to go on for.
Right.
And I just asked, when he was really pushing me, I think I said, is it 1 or 2?
Right. But it all worked. Let's hold off on that because we're going to get to that scene and we could talk about it.
Okay.
It all worked beautifully, even though you say you had no idea what you were doing. None of us ever know what we're doing.
And you know what? He didn't come off like the kind of guy I could say, hey, Larry, could you,
He wasn't approachable.
Right.
Yeah. He is, but people are scared of him. But he's not scary. But I understand. I understand. All right. So we start off the episode, and we're at Bobo's, which is the restaurant that Jeff and Larry are investing in with Michael York and Lou DiMaggio and Ted Danson. And Larry walks over to the bar, and he says to the bartender,
Boy, this is really coming along here. Hey, I'll take a 7 and 7. What are you doing?
A little plumbing.
A little plumbing. Got to plumb the depths. The depths of hell.
And the bartender is actually Richard Tibbetts, who is our electrician. And he has been on the show. I think he started in season 2, and he's still now season 12 on the show. I see him every day. And he looked much younger. And he's doing a little plumbing behind the bar. And Larry goes off into a whole thing about schlepping marble, another complete non sequitur. And Tibbetts is ignoring him. And then Hugh Mellon comes in, who is Tim. What's the name, Anna? Tim Kaczynski?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Tim.
Yeah. Tim, really great improver, was at Second City. Was he a groundling also?
No.
He wasn't a groundling. And he invites Larry and to a pool party. And it turns out that Hugh Mellon, the character, who's also an investor, I think, is head of a publishing company, and they publish Bartlett's quotations. And Richard Lewis wants to get into Bartlett's quotations for the blank from hell, like the nanny from hell, the dinner from hell, the girlfriend from hell, because he claims he made that up. Do we believe that? Can we take a survey here in this room? Do we believe that Richard Lewis came up with from hell? Or was that an old, I don't know.
Wow. Oh my gosh. If he claimed it, it must be true.
I mean, I think he thinks it.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. It's funny because how there's all these jokes that always go around.
Yeah.
And like somebody wrote those jokes. 9/10 of the time, Rodney wrote those jokes.
Are you saying
Rodney Dangerfield? Yeah.
Really?
Like when old jokes used to be going around, then I would find out Rodney wrote it, like originally, because he was such a great joke writer. So we don't know if Lewis actually coined the phrase, but for the purposes of this episode,
yes,
from hell,
we'll
is
give
his.
it to him.
It's his, and it very well may be. It sounds like something he would come up with. So Lewis wants to get into Bartlett's quotations, and Hugh says he'll see what he can do, Hugh Mellon. And then he runs into Jeff. Jeff is going to the pool party, and it turns out Jeff and Susie are back together. They were previously split up. Now they're back together, and he's bringing Susie to the pool party. And the reason they're back together is because Susie's pregnant. I have more to say about that later on. He's moving back in. But of course, Susie got a German Shepherd, Oscar, while Jeff moved out because she wanted some protection. And it turns out Jeff is allergic to the dog. So he's moving back in. He's allergic to the dog. And Larry goes into a whole thing where he says to Cheryl, you should let me date. I'd come home and I'd tell her about the dates that I had and we would laugh about it. Some crazy Larry thing. And Jeff says, what if you're going to have sex with the date? And Larry says he'd tell Cheryl. And it's just ridiculous. Cut to Larry and Cheryl. They're at a bakery. And it turns out the bakery's going out of business. Butterman's Bakery. They lost their lease. And they buy a sponge cake for the pool party. Now, I don't know about you, Cheri. I'm not a fan of sponge cake.
I don't mind it with berries.
With berries and maybe a little vanilla ice cream.
Nobody gets hurt. I love it. I think it's delicious.
I like a pound cake.
Yeah,
but not
that
a
is
sponge.
good. That's good. But sponge is a lot lighter.
It is a lot lighter. And apparently Butterman's has the best sponge cake in town. It's like eating a sponge. Either Larry or Jeff says that. And then how much is it? $12.95. And he says, so no wonder you're going out of business. I mean, $12.95. This is 2002. That's a lot even back then, you know?
Yeah, what's that? There's Sweet Lady Jane prices.
Yeah, really. Craziness. So then they're at the pool party. And Jeff is just shoving the sponge cake in his face, just eating it like a delicious sponge cake that it is. He asks where you got it, and they go into a whole thing. It's a moot point because they're going out of business. And it's a Butterman's. And then Larry says, where's the bathroom? And Cheryl says, you got to go to the cabana, which I assume was like a porta potty.
No, it was like it's a pool house.
Oh, it was a pool house.
Yeah.
Okay. So why didn't he want to use the pool house? It wasn't a porta potty. It was a pool house.
I think when you know that everybody there is using it.
And Larry is very particular about bathroom
He had
stuff.
a sense of pee entitlement.
Yes, he did. Absolutely. Pee entitlement. And he's not going to the cabana. He's going to go into the house. And I say as he's walking away, he thinks the rules don't apply to him, which he does. And there you are guarding the house. And this is where you're saying you had no idea what you were doing.
None whatsoever. The whole show I
Who
didn't know what I was
directed this
doing.
show? I didn't notice. Larry Charles?
Yeah.
And he didn't tell you.
No,
Nobody came over to you and explained what we were doing.
Nobody spoke to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unusual. Usually, well, maybe it's changed over the years, but I know now if you came on the show, you would be pulled aside by Jeff Schaefer, our director, and our EP, and told exactly what you had to do.
I can't tell you, like, I truly was like a babe in the woods. And everybody was on, you guys know what you're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're barely even looking at each other.
Yeah.
You just know where your mark is and everything, and you guys are so used to it, and go. And I am telling you, when I say a flying blind, I was, and I'm nervous too.
It kind of worked
like
for the character though, didn't it? Because the character's crazy.
Yeah, but she's not nervous.
No, she's not nervous.
She's too oblivious to be nervous.
Yeah, she's very secure actually.
Yes, she was.
In her craziness. So Larry comes over to you and he's like, you're guarding the house and you say outside sandbox only. So you're improv. You just went into improv mode as far as I could tell from watching it. I watched it last night. You were just totally in improv mode.
Did I say sandbox?
Yeah. You said outside sandbox only. You're not allowed in here.
Okay.
And then Larry starts to beg. He starts to beg you.
Yeah.
And then you say to him, you would love to, but you'll get in trouble. So you must have been fed that information in some form.
Let me see. I don't know that I was.
Okay. But you picked up on it.
But it was kind of like, what am I going to say back to him?
Yeah.
I was told not to let you in.
Let him in.
And
okay.
that's what I went off of.
Right.
And, I knew that I would get in trouble.
Right.
So that's what I said. But he wasn't begging. He was pressuring.
He was pressuring.
Yeah.
Which he could do very, very well.
Yes.
And then you say to him, just number one. You say you're going to let him in, but just number one.
Yeah. Renegotiating.
And he goes.
No pupusera. No pupusera.
Yeah. What does that mean?
I think pupusera, I always say pupusera, but I think it's Spanish for laundry. Because when you drive by and there's a laundromat and it says pupusera.
I never noticed that.
Yeah.
But I live in New York, so I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
So you let him in.
Yeah.
And were you told to finally let him in or you just went with the scene?
I just kind of went with the scene.
It's so funny.
Because because that's what I said to him right before he yelled action. I said, do I succeed? Like in not letting you go in? Like, do I win or do you? And I just kind of gave it up.
Right. So instinctively you knew what to do.
I guess.
That's because you're damn good.
Ah, kid.
So Larry goes to the bathroom and then he comes back out and he sweet talked his way in. And then they're looking around. It's Larry, Cheryl, Jeff, and Susie, and they're all looking around. And where's everyone else from the restaurant? He thought all the other investors were coming, and there's nobody there. And then all of a sudden, he sees Hugh Mellon's kid got out of the pool, and the nanny or somebody is changing him, or somebody's changing him. It wasn't you.
No.
And he sees the kid has a huge penis. And Larry says,
It's circus freak show.
Okay. It's circus freak show.
You know what? Cheryl's right. Let's go.
Yeah.
I can't stop. It's like a freak show. It's like a good circus thing.
Come on.
We got a freak show here. Where are you going?
Please,
Huh?
Cheri,
This
it's
is
not
really
funny.
now, it's interesting because I get asked this question a lot in interviews. Is there ever a time when you look at the outlines and you think he's gone too far? And I have to say, this was one of those times. When I read the outline, I was like, okay, talking about what is it, he 4 years old or something? A 4-year-old's penis size, I thought was too much. You know, and having watched the episode again last night, I think it was fine. But at the moment, I remember feeling uncomfortable that he was talking about a little boy's penis and the size of it. I remember feeling uncomfortable about that. And it's very rare that I feel uncomfortable on this show. Very rare. But this was one of those moments.
I really did. I thought it was cute. It's a baby, and that's something like I know my dog has a huge penis.
What kind of dog? What kind of dog?
He is just a rescue. He's like Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
Big, dumb,
because I have a dog,
dicked
and
dog.
I swear he has no penis. Right, Jimmy? My husband's here. He's got no penis whatsoever. I mean, he pees.
He's all
so
personality,
he's got
no
one.
penis.
Yeah. So, okay. So we established, and I guess, because the kid comes up later, I guess he was more like 5, maybe 4 or 5, the kid. Was not 2. He was more like 4 or 5.
I'm thinking like 4.
Yeah, because Larry has that fight with him later on, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
So we cut to Jeff and Richard Lewis walk into a crowded restaurant.
That's it right there.
All right.
This is unbelievable.
What?
Stuffed in like sardines here.
Guy deserves to make a living, you know.
This is going to be a great lunch here. Look at this.
Relax, man.
Huh? I can't even talk. You can't say anything in here.
Direct it right to me.
So you got to have a whole whispered lunch. It's a whisper lunch.
It's like the mafia thing.
It's like, yeah. It's
yeah.
Having a dental appointment tomorrow at 3.
And Larry tells Richard Lewis that he spoke to Hugh Mellon about the blank from hell, and that Hugh Mellon seemed very interested and amenable to looking into it. And Richard starts to talk about how he's really pissed off that he doesn't get the credit for it because it's become a phrase in our lexicon. And Larry also says that he invited Hugh Mellon to come to Richard's screening of his HBO special coming up very shortly. And then Larry says to the guy next to him,
Have you been getting all this?
I'm eating my lunch. It's the lunch from hell.
What? What did you say?
I'm saying this is the lunch from hell.
Where'd you hear that expression?
Girlfriend?
You see what I mean? It kills me.
and Larry just, Richard Lewis is like, it kills me every
Oh
time.
my gosh.
Everybody's using my phrase, and I'm not getting credit for it. I think he's being a little oversensitive. You know how many people use phrases we've all said on TV? Everybody calls somebody a fat fuck. Well, that was my phrase. Okay, then we're back at Bobo's, the
You
restaurant.
coined fat fuck.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I would never even think that. I would never even think I coined that phrase. It's a phrase that people use, whatever.
Term of endearment now.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Then they're
Come here, you
back.
fat fuck.
They're back at, well, it depends on who you say it to. As with all things, it's all about content and context. Then they're back at Bobo's and they talk about Larry's fucking up one chef after the other, and they need to find a chef. And Larry's like just totally focused. They open in 2 weeks. They have no fish. He's totally focused on minutia. You know, you have arms on your chair. I want arms. And they're all kind of coming down on him, especially Ted. And he's like, at least I went to the pool party yesterday. Everybody makes excuses why they didn't go to the pool party. And then Larry brings up that he really thinks that they should have applesauce as a side dish. So just again, clueless. They're opening in 2 weeks and he's focused on applesauce as a very underrated side dish. Typical. And he wants to encourage people to order applesauce. And then they break up and Jeff says to Lou DiMaggio, did you sign Sarah Jessica Parker to a recording contract? It's just silliness. And Larry goes over to Hugh Mellon and he very insensitively brings up his son's penis.
So I was at the pool yesterday. Your son. I saw your son at the pool.
Yeah.
Kid's got some penis on him. It's pretty good.
What are you saying?
Your son. His penis.
Wait, what are you saying that before?
Hey, it's a compliment. What's the big deal?
What's the compliment?
Well, how's it bad? How's it bad? He's got a nice big penis. So what?
Well, I'm not talking about your wife's tits. This is rude.
You can say my wife has nice tits as long as it's complimentary. Come on, you.
Hugh, not you. Hugh, okay?
Hugh.
Cut to Larry goes home, and there, sitting in the living room, is Cheryl with Martine, the nanny. Now, were you, at this point, did you know more of what was going on?
I mean, I knew from I got fired. That's it.
Right.
Oh, and that I got a job at the Looney Tunes. I worked at the Looney Tunes.
Right. You were informed of that you previously worked at the Looney Tunes, and that was all you knew.
Yeah.
And
I was so grateful for that little bit of a tidbit.
Information. And imagine our surprise as the audience when we walk in and we see you sitting there with Cheryl.
Yeah.
You know, and you've already established that you're a little nutty, not as nutty as you're going to get.
Well, I bring attention to, because I didn't know really what to say. Something like I brought my suitcase.
Yeah.
And it didn't have wheels.
No wheels.
Yeah.
Right. Meaning it was a shitty suitcase.
Yeah.
Yes. And we find out your name is Martine and that you fired you and that your suitcase doesn't have wheels. And he fired you because you let somebody use the bathroom. And Margarita ratted on you, right? Margarita ratted. And you say to Larry,
Well, of course, I remember what you said about, that you would be responsible if anything happened, so...
Did you tell him that it was me?
No, I don't dime. I didn't dime. So, I remember when I let you in, you said, if there's any problem, I think, I'll take care of it. So here I am. I'm going to have to hold you to that because I don't have another job. No.
So when you had the interaction at the cabana, at the bathroom, when you were guarding, he did say to you,
yeah,
whatever happens, I'm responsible.
Right,
I'll take full responsibility.
Right. It's like he got me pregnant.
Exactly. And now he's responsible.
Said, if I let you, something happened.
You'll take responsibility.
Yeah.
What is this? I have a note. I don't dine.
Dime.
Oh, dime.
Do you know, I can't believe that came back from my childhood. I remember hearing my mother say to somebody, Stevie dimed on Dion.
Now, what does that mean?
Like he told on.
Oh, ratted.
It's like an old term. And
I'd never heard it.
Really?
Yeah, never heard it.
And I don't know
That's
why
I wrote
that came
down. What
up
does that
in
mean?
my head, but it just came up from my childhood because I'll never forget my mother saying, and I thought of the context of the sentence, and that's when I realized what that meant. And it really is an old-fashioned kind of a term, and it just came out. Aren't
you continually surprised when you're improving the stuff that just comes out of nowhere?
Of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like what a weird, I've never said that before in my life.
Yeah.
And it just came out, no, I don't dime, like Dion did to Stevie. But I just said dime. And you thought it was dine all this time?
Yeah, I didn't. I wrote it down. I didn't know what it meant. And I still didn't know. When you said dime, I still didn't. But now I know what it means.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't dime either.
That's the word on the street, Susie.
Yeah.
Susie don't dime.
Susie don't dime. So basically, you say that you're homeless now.
Yeah.
You're kicked out. You were living there.
Mm-hmm.
You were a live-in nanny. And you ask Larry if he could talk to Mr. Mellon. And of course, Larry can't talk to Mr. Mellon because he just had a falling out with Mr. Mellon about the size of his son's penis.
And that's when
And then
we
you say, how
agree.
about that thing? You say, how about that thing?
I said, it's the size of a baby's arm.
Yeah.
Because I remember my friend was talking about a crab leg, and he goes, these crabs were so big, I swear one was the size of a baby's arm.
That's
and
a
that's
horrible
another thing.
reference.
And then it just stuck in my head. And I go, it's the size of a baby's arm.
Oh God, that's such a gross image.
I know.
So Larry cannot, so you're talking about the kid's penis and you'll need a reference from Mr. Mellon. Now you can't get a reference. And he says, where did you work before? And that's when you tell him you worked at the Looney Tune Lodge. Is that such a thing?
It sounds like it would be.
Yeah. Anybody know? Is there really a Looney Tune Lodge?
But then growing up watching, the theme song.
Of course.
There
is a Looney Tune Lodge, Anna tells us. And
oh
then,
my gosh.
And
yeah.
then you talk about how you sing the theme over and over again. And then you're like, it was fun. It was fun. You're so fucking crazy that it's so hilarious, Cheri. It's so hilarious.
Aw.
And then what's the theme song again?
Yeah,
exactly. And you know what? I remember after shooting that episode, that was in my head for weeks. Annoyingly so. It was in my head for weeks. And then Larry takes Cheryl aside and wants to talk privately, or Cheryl takes Larry aside and wants to talk privately. And Cheryl says to him, I don't want the nanny from hell staying at my house. And Larry says, where'd you hear that? And Cheryl says, my dad used it all the time from hell. For years he used it. And she says, well, you got that from Richard Lewis. She's like, no, we didn't get it. Her father in Tallahassee, Florida, did not know from Richard Lewis, trust me. So we're a little suspicious about the whole from hell thing at this point. And then Cheryl starts talking about how crazy you were. Like you were talking about you like to pet horses, how you enjoy a good corn dog, how you like to take a bath with your socks on, like you're a total fucking nut. And then you're in the background singing the theme. Da-dun-da-da-da-dun.
Oh my God.
And then Jeff says, Susie's pregnant. Jeff needs a nanny. It's a win-win. And we're doing them a favor. He says he's doing us, Jeff and Susie, a favor by bringing you over there and recommending you for the job. So next he's in a car with you.
Oh my God, that scene.
You know, we got to stop off and get some sponge cake.
Okay.
It's my friend's birthday.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm buying him some sponge cake.
there you go.
You like sponge cake?
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. We were in that car for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to think of, like what to talk to him about.
Yeah.
And I could not have been more awkward. And I was just like, I think I said something like, so you having fun? Yeah. And he looked at me like, yeah, And then we just didn't talk the whole time in the car. We didn't say 2 words to each other. And I'm thinking,
It was just silent.
Why can't you think of something to say?
Yeah.
I just felt like I didn't.
Larry is very comfortable in himself in that way, that he doesn't feel the need to make conversation or make small talk. And until you really know that, you could feel awkward and uncomfortable with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I didn't know him.
Yeah.
And I was so excited.
Yeah.
It's just like it was when he called me. I really, was very excited. So, and a bit intimidated. So it just like squashed my personality.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of anything interesting to say. And
But once they said action, you were fine.
Yeah, but I wanted to get to know him a little bit.
You wanted to have a moment.
I wanted to
Yeah.
have a moment with
Yeah.
him. And
I understand.
And so I can see why I wasn't asked back.
No. You were terrific.
Couldn't think of a goddamn thing to say.
You were not asked back because your character was
know.
over. You were fantastic in the episode.
No. I know. I'm just joking. But Yeah, I was intimidated.
I understand. You were intimidated. But luckily, it did not show through in your performance. Right? So then you're in Butterman's and you're taking all the free samples and stuffing them into your face.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Because that's how I am in real life. If there's a free sample,
Why
I'm
not?
eating it.
Why would you not?
I'm in line at Costco for the free sample when I know that it's something good. And I love sometimes in my Starbucks down the street, I love a free sample. So here, I'm truly eating them and swallowing all of them.
All the Butterman's
I'm
sponge
thinking,
cake.
oh my God, I'm just committing to my acting. No, I just wanted the
And who doesn't
cake.
like a free sample?
That's what I said.
That's the whole point. And then Larry
Oh yeah, he looks at me and he looks at me like, what are you doing? And I go, they're free. Which
Yes.
is what I would say in real life.
Yes. And then Larry then purchases, they're going out of business. They have 12 sponge cakes left and he purchases them all. And they don't have boxes, so they wrap them up in, plastic wrap, saran wrap, cellophane. Thank you, cellophane. That's the word I was looking for. And then you come to our house so that I could meet you and answers the door. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Hello. Hi.
This is Martine, the nanny I was telling you about on the phone.
Hi, Martine. I'm Susie Green. Larry, what the fuck is this? What are these?
Oh, sponge cakes.
What do you mean sponge cakes?
It's a birthday present for Jeff.
Larry.
And he's like, you don't understand. They're going out of business. I was like, I understand. I don't give a shit. I don't care. And I was like, he doesn't need to eat. He's a fat fuck as it is. He's going to explode. And then you say to me, congratulations about the baby. And then how did you know? And then, apparently Larry told you because Jeff told him it's bad luck. I'm not even in the first trimester, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And I'm all flummoxed and upset about it. And then I'm just like, all right, you know what? Come in, darling. I'll interview you. And I'm a little condescending to you, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But of course.
I'm happy pants.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I'm getting a new job.
Exactly. And I'm telling put the sponge cake in the kitchen. And then we cut to, I'm walking down the outside stairs and I throw all the sponge cakes into the garbage, just into the garbage area. I just throw them down on the ground into the garbage area. I throw them out. And then we're in the screening room for Richard Lewis's taping. And nobody from HBO came. And Lewis says something like, they want to be in their private homes. And Larry corrects him. He said, you mean the privacy of their homes? And Lewis is like, you're like the English language cop to him, And he loves to correct Lewis, by the way.
Yeah.
They're friends for forever.
Yeah.
And Lewis says to him, maybe you can intro me to the Bartlett's guy, meaning Hugh Mellon. And Larry says, well, there's a problem with that. And just at that moment, Jeff gets a phone call. And he has to leave. Emergency. Your nanny attacked Susie. And Larry says, should I go? And Richard says, if you leave me, I'll collapse. And they go through a whole thing that how he says collapse. Because he says it the Brooklyn way, collapse instead of collapse. And it's a whole, I say collapse too. And then Hugh is there with as Lewis calls him, the porn baby. Lewis refers to Hugh's son as the porn baby. And Larry says, well, it's a good sign for the quote. He came, even though he was mad at me. And then they're in the screening and the kid is just acting out like crazy. He's just the brattiest little fucking kid. I hate this show. I want popcorn and bratty. And Larry starts shushing him and arguing with him.
You know what I'm saying? But I still feel like a wreck of progress. I'm still screwed up.
Shush.
Down
You
a couple
poopy
of,
head.
Oh,
you shush, dodo brain. You're a dodo brain.
And then Hugh jumps in and says to Larry, don't talk to my kid. And Larry says, get Uncle Milty out of here. Now, a lot of people might not know what that Uncle Milty reference was.
Milton Berle.
Tell us, Cheri.
It's very
well known
that
fact.
Milton Berle has a huge penis.
He's dead. I assume his penis is dead as well.
What if that didn't die? Everything else, just withered away to dust. But that's still...
His penis is in the Smithsonian.
It's a mummy. It's been mummified.
But it was, it's like Milton Berle. What a waste of a big penis.
Don't say that to Mrs. Berle. Shoo-ding.
Yeah, exactly. Milton Berle, when he did his show, was that in the 50s? Yeah. His main thing was dressing up in drag.
Yeah.
He was always dressed in women's clothing.
I actually went to a birthday party that was thrown to him.
Oh, tell me.
My friend, I think it was my friend Cameron Manheim. She goes, do you want to go to Milton Berle's birthday party? I'm like, who doesn't?
Yeah.
So we go.
How old?
Oh, I mean, 90s.
Yeah, old.
And he was sitting at a table, and everybody that I grew up with, all the comedians that I grew up with, were there, like Jan Murray.
Oh,
and,
really?
And was Phyllis Diller and Larry and King.
Alan King.
Alan King. And
who'd you say, Lee?
Jack Carter.
Yeah,
Jack Carter. Red buttons. Wow.
And I'm just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this is everybody that was in my living room in the 70s.
Everybody we watched Password with. And,
yes,
and
I felt so lucky. It was like I just wanted to
And did you talk to any of them?
Red Buttons was really, really nice.
Yeah.
But I made my way over to Milton Berle, and he was flanked by men standing up. And what I thought was, and they're all smiling.
You sure it was men and not his penis?
No.
Okay.
And they were also, and what they were they kept people away from him.
Oh, really? They were bodyguards?
Yes. Yeah, but it's like, well, who do you think is going to?
Yeah, he's at his house with all his friends. What was that about?
People didn't want people to know how bad off he was at that point.
So what, was he senile or?
I don't think he had all of his wits together.
Mm-hmm.
I did approach him, and I felt like he was there. His heart was beating, but I think sometimes when you could have doctors around the clock, you sometimes live longer than
you should.
Might want to.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I felt like, all right, he's been around a little longer than he'd probably even like. But yeah, so.
But he was still stealing people's jokes. Wasn't Milton Berle, wasn't he known for stealing people's material?
I heard that.
He was known for that.
It was the penis and material.
Yeah, the big schlong and the stealing material and the dressing up as a woman.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something. I'll never forget that. That was such a cool moment for me.
That's like you're everybody that as a kid you're thinking.
As a kid,
did you always want to be a comedian?
No. I mean, I guess I was funny, but I never saw myself doing stand up. Like,
but did you want to be a comedic actress?
I never really thought about that. I mean, it wasn't until like I found the Groundlings, and hiding behind characters to me, but to be myself was very, very hard.
What inspired you to join the Groundlings?
I went to the theater. I was working at A&M Records, and someone from the legal department said to me, because everybody said, oh, you should do stand-up, you should do stand-up. And I just always was like, yeah.
Stand-up's a different beast.
I know, it's a completely different beast.
It is.
And I said, and then a woman came up to me one time, I'll never forget, her name was Susan Lindner, and she said, you should do the Groundlings. And I said, what's the Groundlings? She said, it's improv. And I swear, I said, what's improv?
Yeah.
She goes, it's comedy you make up kind of as you go along. And I was like, what? Who was this God you speak of?
Yeah.
So I went into the phone book, and I went down to the Groundlings, and I went in and I saw everybody who had been there before. And I was like, what is this? What is this? I didn't do theater before that or anything. So I went and I saw a show, and I thought to myself, oh my God. And then I immediately signed up for classes.
So you took classes first?
Oh, of course.
And how long did you take classes before you got in the company? Oh, really?
2 years I took classes, and a lot of people get dropped along the way. There's 4 levels.
So there's levels of classes.
Yeah, there's 4 levels, and I just thought,
was Cheryl there at the time?
She was after me.
Okay.
And the clouds parted. It was like, oh my gosh, if I could do this, if I ever became a Groundling, to me, being a Groundling was
So you had no acting training, this was the first thing you ever did.
I worked at A&M Records, during the day. And so when we got into lab, which was writing, I didn't have the same schedule as other people because I worked during the day. A lot of people were doing. So I wrote at my job a lot.
Right.
That's where I had a computer. And so I really kind of learned to write on my own. And it was the best training.
Yeah.
And it was just something I just thought.
You just took to it.
I took to it, and I just loved it so much. And it was so funny because everybody had headshots. I didn't have a headshot or anything. And that's how I got into it. I mean, And then it was like told, Cheri, you need to quit your job. Then I was in the Sunday company for 2 years.
What does that mean?
That's where you perform every Sunday night.
Right.
And you either get moved up or you get dropped.
Yeah.
And the next.
It's kind of brutal, isn't it?
It's very brutal.
Yeah.
It's a really good kind of training ground for SNL.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is also pretty
brutal.
Tough and
That's
competitive.
What I mean. And
how long were you in the Groundlings before you got SNL?
A year and a half.
Oh, not long at all.
No.
I mean, it probably felt like long to you, but in the reality.
No, it didn't.
It didn't.
Because I loved it every minute.
Yeah.
I would have never dreamt that big, Susie. I would have never dreamt that big. And when they came and saw me, it was really a showcase for Chris Kattan. So I only had one sketch in. And so I thought, well, maybe they'll remember me for next time. And then I remember I was temping at Disney Legal because I quit A&M.
Right.
So I could go on auditions. And Lee calls me and he's like, hey, what are you doing?
Lee was your manager at the time, who's my manager now.
Yes. He said, what are you doing next Monday? And I'm like, very funny. I'll be at Disney Legal. And he goes, no, you're going to be auditioning for Saturday Night Live. And I said, what? What? And so, 4 of us were flown out from the Groundlings.
Oh, you flew to New York?
They flew us to New York.
Wow.
And
and you got it.
Well, yeah. Then they.
How did they audition? What was the audition process?
It was like do 4 or 5 characters in like 7 to 10 minutes. And
so and you would just do monologues of the characters?
You do a little bit of it.
Yeah.
You know, and then some characters you have with other people.
Right.
And you have to kind of almost pretend that they're there.
Right.
You know, I really didn't know very much, you know, but then I went, I got the call back. I think there was 30 some people that were flown in. And then I think 12 got called back.
What year is this?
95.
1995. Okay.
And then after that, I remember I didn't hear anything. And then I heard Lorne Michaels and Bernie Brillstein are coming to the show.
To the Groundlings show?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Mindy Sterling, who's a Groundling, she's amazing. She was a teacher as well. She said to me, she goes, I heard Bernie Brillstein. He sat in back of me, or she was in back of him, and he said, he leaned over to Lauren and goes, she pops like Gilda.
She pops like what?
Gilda.
Oh, Gilda. Well, that's a compliment.
And I'll never, ever forget that.
Yeah.
And
meaning Gilda Radner, just for our listeners.
And and then a few weeks later, and I just thought, you know, it's been so much time has gone by. And then when I found out I got it, it was Lauren wants to meet him. And it was Will and I. And
Will who?
Ferrell.
Yeah.
And so we were both in the waiting room, and I went in, and I remember buying a dress that I really couldn't afford. But I'm like, I want to look my best. And he's like, Cheri, we want to fly you to New York. He never said you got the job.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, to shop?
What for?
Like, you know, but then afterwards, and I said to Will, he goes, what did he say? And I go, he just wanted to talk more because I didn't want to ruin it for him.
Right.
You know, I wanted him to have that experience.
So you both got it at the same time?
Yeah. And then we went into the parking lot holding hands, and then we just screamed in the parking lot. And we both went to a phone booth. He called his mother, I called my father.
Yeah, well, they can't do that anymore.
I know. We like pulled over.
What is Superman supposed to do?
Yeah, we pulled over and went into the phone booth, and it was just so...
I miss phone booths.
It was so... Yeah, they're petri dishes, those phone booths, you know?
I know.
But
I
anyway,
remember that.
I went off on the long tangent. I'm
it was
sorry.
like,
I don't know.
No, it's fine. We edit, but it was all interesting, so we'll probably just keep it all in.
Can I just interject something?
Yes, Lee.
So I got Cheri an apartment in my old building on 76th Street. And she was across the hall from my neighbor when I was living then. And I said to her, he's the greatest guy you'll ever meet. He's a wholesale wine salesman.
Willie Gluckstern. And he was the nicest guy.
The nicest guy I ever want to meet.
All right, but why are we having this
can
now?
I help? Can I help?
Yeah.
He said, I remember whenever this guy had sex, everybody in the building heard it and told him to shut the hell up.
Yeah.
And he would scream. And this was like a very dapper, sophisticated older man. And I'm like, okay.
And Cheri got a little annoyed. She's like, Lee, that's such a guy thing to say. And I said, okay.
A few weeks go by, and then I am literally calling 911 because someone was screaming. And then I remember Lee. And I'm like, no, that can't be him. I mean, I was on the phone and I put the phone down and he's right across on it and it was him. And I was just kind of like, God, this is like a Larry David episode.
Yeah, really.
And I called him and I go, you're right. He was screaming bloody murder. Like that woman must have been like, holy.
He needs to have sex in the woods. All right. So wait, I'm going to go back a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Larry says to him, get Uncle Milky out of here. That's where we ended about the episode. And then they're back and forth. You're stupid. No, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. And here's Larry fighting with the 4-year-old. Poopy head and dodo brain and stupid. And Larry says he wouldn't be here if you didn't fire the nanny. So it all comes back to you. And then we go back with fuck you, back and forth. Cut to our house. Larry comes into our house. And he asks how Susie is, and Jeff says, go up and ask her. And I'm in bed, and this is the demure, sweet Susie Green. And Larry asked how I am, and I said, that nanny was a sicko. She was a mental case. She was sick. And Larry feigns innocence like he had no idea you were crazy. But of course he knew the nanny was crazy. And then I retell the story of what happened.
And it's shot very film noir, like
very
black and
film
white.
noir. And we'll talk about, I'll tell the story and then we'll just talk about it. Sammy's watching Looney Tunes and they're playing and Martine is freaking out. She hears that music and she starts to freak out.
She starts fighting with me. She grabbed my arm. She starts pulling me back and forth. All of a sudden, I'm fighting with this crazy woman. I mean, physically fighting.
Yeah.
Next thing I knew, we were like out on the deck.
Out on the deck?
Yeah, like struggling and fighting.
Oh my God, and then what happened?
She pushed me over the rail. This crazy woman, she pushed me over the rail. She was trying to kill me.
What?
Here's the thing, Larry. My fall was broken by 12 sponge cakes.
Now, I remember shooting that scene. I remember I had red marks on my arms.
Oh, you did? Because didn't we have a stunt person?
Yes, there was a stunt double that did the fall for me over the rail. And I remember that I was upset because she had a much bigger ass than I did. And I remember thinking, oh, everybody's going to think that's me and she has a bigger ass than me. And also I remember when I fell on the sponge cakes, there was Kelly and I believe it was Mike. There were 2 crew guys, huge guys, and one had my 2 legs and one had my 2 arms. And the sponge cakes were on like a mat or something. Yeah. And they lifted me up and dropped me. And we had to do it several times. They didn't lift me up more than a couple of feet, but my back got all fucked up from it. Like
really?
The things that people don't realize how injured we get all the time from shit.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Even with like a stunt person.
Right.
But I remember I'm thinking, you just push and you pull and push and pull. So you don't know. That's what I was doing. And I'm so sorry that I hurt your arm.
You didn't hurt. It was afterwards that I saw there was like deep fingerprint marks on my. We were fighting.
I was committed.
Yeah, you were committed, but so was I. We were in an altercation, and it's like it's not something I usually do. So it was kind of fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. And then the episode ends with my fall broken by the sponge cakes. And the funny thing is that, so apparently I did not lose the baby because the sponge cake saved the baby. But then the baby was never mentioned again. I never had the baby.
Are you serious?
I never gave birth to the baby. And the baby was never mentioned again. I think we mentioned it once. Later on in that season, there was some, or the next season where there was some reference to the baby because we said, wait a minute, didn't I have a baby and we never mentioned it? But then the baby just disappeared. She was never there again. Oh my
gosh.
What, Lee?
But you had a daughter, Sammy.
I already had the daughter.
Oh, you already had
Sammy, who was, by the way, a son in the first season. but then became a daughter because of the doll episode in the second season, and was Sammy in the first season, but Sammy could be, then she became Samantha. So Sammy was a boy, now Sammy's a girl, and then I was pregnant, and then I don't know whatever happened to the baby.
You should have had a boy with a really small penis but big balls.
That's right. Cheri, what do you got going on now?
I'm developing a show.
Oh, good.
Right now. Yeah.
Oh, good. Because
I never talk about anything until
I know. Kinahara poo poo poo, as we say in the Yiddish. Well, we would all love to see you back on the air in your full glory.
Oh, thank you, Susie.
And you were fantastic on this episode, and it was the episode from hell.
And
it sounds like it was the episode from hell for you.
Well, it ended up being wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that because I love the show, and to be working with all you guys and to be asked by Larry was a big deal for me.
And sure, and you didn't have to audition. And it was a lot of people who are well-known people who still have to audition. And he didn't audition you, which is a testament to how good you are.
He doesn't because of he auditions people because it's so much of it is improvised?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And obviously you were a groundling, you knew how to improvise, but there's a lot of terrific actors who don't know how to improvise. It's a completely different skill.
Well, that's why when I would watch the show, I'm thinking, damn, everybody's good at this. Like I would see all the guests that would come on, and I would think
the reason why a lot of the guests are really good is, not for somebody like you who's such a proficient improviser, but I think a lot of the reasons why so many guests are good is because it's the way he lays out the storyline. And it's so clear what each scene is about that there's not room really to go off outside the story. And if people come on and they start doing jokey kind of stuff, cut immediately. Cut.
Really?
He does not want jokey stuff. No. Yeah,
because I'm wondering when, I think, how long do you go on for? I didn't know when to stop, when to end it. Well,
a lot of times we don't end it because a lot of gold comes after when we just keep on going. And then they edit it.
But you don't want to annoy him. That's what I felt. I thought to myself,
I have no problem with that.
If I did it more often, I would have been, probably. But
we're on year 23, season 12 right now.
Right.
So, we kind of got a rhythm going.
You guys are just so awesome at it. And then it is good because you can overdo, and then you get the gems.
Yeah. I always try to in different takes. Because sometimes in certain takes I could be so big. I always try to do a big take, then a smaller take, then a medium take. And just so they have in editing a lot of different choices. Because, we can all have a tendency to go big because it's funny.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't work in the scheme of the whole half hour.
And then you don't have a place to go if you start big.
Right.
I always thought about that. It's kind of just, lay the groundwork.
Right.
And then if it calls for it, you have a place to go.
Are you still involved with the Groundlings at all?
I'm actually doing a show on the 23rd. They're having their big anniversary coming up. I forget which one it is, but they're bringing...
Well, we had Lorraine Newman on, and Lorraine was one of the founders of the Groundlings.
Yeah, I love her so much. Do you know, when I was in classes, I was in classes with her boyfriend at the time. And he said to me, hey, do you want to write together? And I'm like, yeah, because I knew he lived with Lorraine and I'd never met her. So I went over and she had just had Lena, I believe. She just had Lena. And he's like, do you want to meet Lorraine? And I'm like, yeah. But I was trying to really play it cool. And I went up and he brought me into the bedroom and she was breastfeeding Lena. And I was like, hi. And she started coming to the shows. She was coming to the shows and she would take me aside and she goes, you're going to make it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I never forgot that. And when I did get SNL, she called me and she was always very sweet and supportive.
Yeah.
And it was just her birthday. I think it was yesterday. And she's just awesome.
Yeah, she really is. She really is.
Yeah, she's a love.
Well, so are you, Cheri. And thank you for coming.
So are you, Susie. Let's not fight. I love you more.
You're stupid. No, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. And thank you for filling in for Jeff.
Yeah.
So it's been great
Jeff,
to have you.
Taken. none taken.
Yeah.
No information the first time I saw you, and no
None now.
information this time.
Exactly. Thank you, Cheri.
Love you, Jeff. Love you, Susie.
And we'll be back next time.
Yeah.